right now. I did not plan on being here, but my sister made me come because she's older. Her name is Tracy. Y'all be seeing her in a little bit. But she came up and she was like, "I need you. I got this AI thing going on." And stuff. I was like, "I know nothing about it, nothing." But one thing I do know over at iHeartMedia, which I'm so glad to work for this company, is that we have said across the board, the largest media company in the world, that we're not doing AI. But as far as when it comes to talent, when it comes to doing commercials and things like that, but in my industry, AI is very prevalent. As far as there's songs out there right now that you couldn't even tell that they're not a human person, and they're hot too, fire. Y'all seen the memes and everything. I'm all in the social media and everything. You seen where Martin Luther King and Tupac is sitting on the bench, kicking it. Like that ain't real, but that's what's happening. It's making you question everything right now. But one thing that I do know, if we learn about AI, if we teach our young people about AI, if we ourselves grasp AI, then we'll be ahead of the curve. So this panel is going to help you and teach you all about that because I know nothing about it. I was actually leaving the radio station. She called me and was like, "You got to get up here right now. I'm telling mom." You see where I'm at because I don't want no hassle with my mom. But I'm going to be leaving here because I got to go to another event. But I had to make sure I was here, and I had to make sure because I see all of y'all right now, and I see people come up shaking hands and things like that. So just real quick before they get started, do me a favor because there's a lot of powerful people in this building right now. And it's somebody that you might need to. The next somebody is probably in. I'm just playing. You already that somebody. But do me a favor. As you at your table, if you don't know somebody, I'll give you 30 seconds. Meet somebody new real quick, please. Here we go. One, two, three, four. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Appreciate y'all following the rules. Now, now, I'm about to bring up my sister. um, but before I do that, have y'all seen the Michael Jackson movie yet? Ooh, go see it. But anyway, right now, I'm bringing to the stage someone that I've known all my life, and she doesn't call me City at all. She calls me Terry because that's my real name. And she means so much to me. I'm not, my voice just trembles. It's not going to cry. I'm proud of you. Give it up for my sister, Tracy Seegers.
Innovation isn't new to us. Our history is built on the backs of those who saw the future before it arrived, those who took the tools of their time and built a legacy. Now we are at the doorstep of the next great frontier, artificial intelligence. It isn't just code and algorithms, it is the modern day language of progress. The narrative has often been that technology is something that happens to us, but today we change that story. We aren't just observers, we are the architects. We refuse to be left behind. There is a fear that AI will take our jobs, but the truth is more powerful. AI won't take your job, but a person using AI might. This isn't about replacement, it's about enhancement. It's about turning hours of chores into seconds of strategy. It's about amplifying your voice, scaling your business, and protecting your data. It's about moving from a casual interaction with tech to a lifelong partnership. Today, we claim our seat at the table. We learn the language, we set the boundaries, and we lead the way. We are advancing together with purpose and with power. Welcome to the Advancing AI Forward in the Black Community Conversation. Let's build the future forward. Everyone, can y'all hear me? I I don't really probably need a mic, but my name is Tracy Seegers. I am the Director of AI and Digital Skills for NCUS and NCUS Tech, and welcome today. I'm really, really excited. I'm not going to cry because I have friends from years ago in this room that have surprised me today. So I'm really excited, and I'm more excited for you all as a community to have this conversation today. Today, we are going to take our seat at the table. Today, we are not going to be left behind. I know a lot of people are saying AI is coming, it's coming, it's coming. Baby, it is here. If you have a cell phone, you have AI. If you have a TV in your house that every time you watch it and every time you think about something, the commercial plays, you got AI. You cannot get away from it, but we can lead the way. We can lead the charge in this conversation. So before we get started, I want to have some words from our founder, Dr. John Gregory.
So I'm glad you came today. And why? And as Kenny and I travel the whole country, one of the things we get to see is the condition of that Black community. And I am sometimes troubled because what I see is that the Black community across this country, somehow or another, after all the degrees we've gotten, after all the money we've made, after all the things we've been exposed to, the one thing that we keep missing is how we bring each other along. We have Black folks who sit in key positions and places and refuse to open up the doors and let us in. We have Black folks who are making major decisions, but they don't bring us along. And that's a tragedy, because everybody in this room, if you have a degree, if you drive a nice car, you live in a nice house, you got that because somebody died for you. And they died to give you a right to access success. And so I want to say this to each of you, and I say this as I go across the country in 23, 24, 25, 26 different cities on a regular basis. You know what? The Bible says my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Because when people don't have knowledge, they don't have power. And so the AI, Tracy called me this morning, she said, what's the one statement you would say? And I would say, let's don't talk about AI is coming. Let's talk about AI is here. But the one community that still is lagging behind in understanding where AI is going is the Black community. And it's up to each one of us to get a true understanding. There are folks out there making all kinds of money with fake AI seminars, telling folks this is what AI is, and we still ain't even accessing that. So our organization is called NCUS, the National Center for Urban Solutions. We brought this together 30 years ago because I got tired of going to meetings and people were talking about problems. I said, what are the solutions? And so you can see everything we do is solution-based for the Black community, and we do it unapologetic. We do wellness for the Black community. We do education for the Black community. We do technology for the Black community. Not because we feel like racism has left us behind. We feel like because we have been empowered not to be left behind because we have knowledge and information. So tonight, we are going to introduce you, have a great conversation about AI, but trust me, Elon Musk said today in an interview, this time next year, you will be able to have a robot in your house. That's how quickly AI is taking over. And then he said something else too. There's a corporation company who AI went in and erased all its data. They said AI is about to be as smart as a human. So we can sit back, be relaxed, and have fun and laugh. But trust me this, if you are not AI up, you're going to be left behind. And when you drive up to Wendy's and you don't no longer see the young people standing there working at Wendy's because AI is in there, you'll understand how we got left behind. So people, remember, somebody died for this moment, for us to be educated and not be left behind. So get all the knowledge we can, but let's bring each other along so we don't left behind. Hey, thanks for coming and have a good time. Get checked out.
Okay, we're going to have some fun real quick. And what Mr. Gregory was saying, when we talk about AI and education, I was having a conversation with some colleagues. And as a professor, when I'm talking to my colleagues, there are some who they are just so irritated with the whole AI concept. But one of them sent me a email late at night, and he said, "Look," he said, they're going to be putting robots in classrooms, high school classrooms." And I responded and said, "You know what? If they do that, please put a camera in that classroom." I said, because if they're in there with our beautiful black intelligent children, by the time they get back, that robot gonna be talking about, "Bruh, I'm I'm calling my mama." I said, they're going to touch it, they're going to take it apart, because they are brilliant. And so our minds are brilliant minds, but we want to make sure that they are they stay brilliant with the information that they learn. So today I want you guys to feel good about yourselves, right? Because I feel good today. So I want you to feel good. So take out your cell phones. Take out your cell phones. Go to your AI platform and ask it, what is one good thing about you, and see what it says. Let's just see how good y'all are. Now, if you did something last night, I probably ain't going to, because you know it knows. So don't tell your business. What's one good thing about me? Some of y'all smiling. Y'all like, oh, shoot. So tell me, what did it say? Somebody holler out. What did it say about you? Go to, okay.
Check, check.
It says one thing that stands out is that you take action. A lot of people sit on ideas or stay in planning mode, but you consistently move things forward, whether it's building programs, solving technical problems, or figuring out systems that actually work in the real world. That bias toward execution is rare, and it's what turns vision into something tangible.
Go ahead, girl.
You agree?
You agree? She said, "Yeah, that's what anybody else." Well, look at that. Everybody want to talk about how good they are. I know that's right. Pat yourself on the back.
You are consistently turning ideas into action. A lot of people talk about starting things, businesses, side hustles, career moves, but you actually move. You got certified in body contouring, you're building a business, you're supporting your son's future, and you're still advancing in a high level career. That combination of vision plus execution is rare. If I had to distill it down, you don't sit on potential, you use it.
All right. Woo.
I'm going to the back. I'm going to the back.
Go to the back. We come
Going to the back.
There's some good people in the back. There's some good people in the back.
You've built something genuinely rare, a career rooted in lived experience, being a first gen college grad who went back to advise the students coming up behind you, and then channeling that into tools, research, and now an MBA shows a kind of purposeful consistency that most people never find.
Can we go to this side of the room and then come back up?
Yes, we can. Excuse me. Right here. There you go.
So it says, you are a builder of clarity in spaces where people feel overwhelmed. You take messy, undefined situations like projects, AI, and careers and turn them into structured, usable systems. You don't just understand complexity, you translate it so others can act on it. You naturally move things from confusion and delay to direction and execution.
Right.
Can we get Senator Michelle Reynolds has hers.
You operate at the intersection of power and proximity. A lot of people in leadership become distant from the people they serve, and a lot of people doing hands-on work never gain the authority to change systems. You've done both, and you move between those worlds. You shape policy at a high level while understanding also firsthand how those decisions land on real people, especially those navigating the hardest transitions. That combination is rare, and it gives you an instinct for what actually works and not just what sounds good.
Right.
All right. So with that, how does it know all of this about you? Kind of scary, right? It knows your business. So if it now, because we've been using it and all those satellites all over the world that they sending people to the moon and putting things on planets, they're watching us. So it knows a lot about you to tell you something good about you. Now, hopefully you all feel good about what you just learned about yourself as we matriculate through this conversation. But the one thing that I do want to do is first I want to acknowledge everybody that's in the room. I want to acknowledge our executive team. I want to acknowledge, oh, she came. She got my text. I want to acknowledge everyone that's in the room. But before I do that, we want to take a quick survey. First survey. And I want you to keep your cell phones out because I want to know how you feel about AIs. 3 questions. Just fill it out on your phone. And then I will be doing the introduction for our president, Mr. Perry Gregory. You got about 1 more minute. Just download it, fill that out. And yes, I'm going to collect all this data because I'm AI too. Y'all serious? Y'all quiet? Y'all like, listen. All right. So as you fill out that survey, I just want you all to know that everyone in this room, you have a new title tonight. Your title is AI Ambassador. One of the things that I want you to leave with tonight is knowledge, assurance, and a little bit of trust. And we also have something special for you. So you know what? Be on the lookout throughout this conversation. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our president, Mr. Perry Gregory of NCUS Tech.
This is a real professional crowd in here. How y'all feeling today? I want everybody to repeat after me. We will not. We got to get louder. That's not enough. We will not get left behind. Let's get a little louder next time. We will not get left behind. First, I'd like to acknowledge our NCUS executive team. If you're here, you can stand up. We have Mr. Kenny Hampton, president of the African American Male Wellness Agency. We have Kristen Munster, VP of NCUS Tech. And we have Yolanda, why are you sitting back there? Come up here now. And we have Yolanda Nunez. She is our chief of HR for NCUS. And then all the other NCUS staff, if you can stand for us. They must be in the hall working, so they're working today. That's good. Next, we want to introduce our level 1 leaders. We have our VP of Technology, Mr. Anthony Jackson. We have our marketing guy right here. This marketing look good today, don't it? I guess you got to do a little better next time. Mr. LeVar Howe. Greetings. My name is Perry Gregory. I have the opportunity to serve as the president of NCUS Tech. And for those who don't know, we are a national accredited career college that provides short-term training and now a 2-year associate's degree in advanced manufacturing. And our work is centered around making sure that all educational learners, seniors, youth, career changers, reentry citizens, adults, are prepared for future AI-proof careers in advanced manufacturing, information technology, construction, healthcare, and now AI. But first, I don't do this too often. We have some very special people in the room. Yeah, you see, turn around. But we couldn't do this work without some of our important funders. And when we talk about Black people, making sure that residents in Central Ohio have access to better paying careers, have access to a quality life, have access to health, have access to educational opportunities. There's two people in this room, two Black women. For the last 10 to 15 years, have stepped up and said, we want to make sure that Black people in this community, and it's about Black people tonight, because for too long, we've been forgotten about. For too long, we've not included in the economic growth that is happening in our community. But these two Black women have stepped up and said, not on our watch. So first, I want to acknowledge Franklin County Deputy Administrator D.C. Bivens. Can you stand up? And the agenda can always change, so you're allowed to come say. You got to give us like 30 seconds, D.C. Come on now, you got to give us something.
First of all, thank you all so much. This organization, as many of you know, is one of the most innovative organizations that we have in our community. It is a value jewel. It was an honor to be here. My county administrator, I don't see him here. Let him know that I said wonderful things about him today because I have a conversation with him tomorrow. Thank you.
So through our partnership with Franklin County, we have an opportunity to do a lot of work. We do a broadband features program, which is helping untapped talent in this community work on the data center sites with Google and Facebook, where young men and individuals of all walks of life, these people are starting out at $70,000. We got individuals making $150,000 that never had a job. And it's because of Franklin County's investment into our community. The next person is, we met her at, she was selling popsicles at the African American Male Wellness Walk as a vendor. And we had a conversation with her. At this time, she was working for the faith-based office at the state of Ohio. And she said, I want to make sure that I'm going to use my power to make sure the work that you are doing is supported, is invested. 5 straight years has said, I got y'all back. And so we want to call you up here. We're going to give you 30 seconds before the panel.
Thank you, Perry, and that's so wonderful. But truly, it's an honor to be here, just to be able to serve, to be a vessel. I just thank God for being able to use me. But this is a very worthy organization. I mean, the impact is undeniable, and I'm just happy to be a conduit, to be able to make sure that the resources get where we're actually making an impact and changing lives. So thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you as a state senator here in the state of Ohio.
Couple more before we get started. We have the Smart Columbus team. Are they here? We want to thank Smart Columbus, Cammie, and them. I don't know if you know, but across Central Ohio, there's a digital equity coalition that is making sure that all residents can get digital skills. Before you even get the AI skills, the foundation starts with digital learning. And so over 10,000 residents in Central Ohio right now have an opportunity to get a free iPad, and with a short course, 10 hours, but it's through their work. And I will tell you, they have built one of the most phenomenal collaborations across Central Ohio, 60 different organizations that are participating. I have the opportunity to serve by that steering community. But they are making sure that digital equity in this community is being addressed, and they're doing it in a great way. So we want to thank you. Couple more partners, JP Morgan Chase. They've recently made a $3.5 million investment in 6 different workforce organizations. Tony Cunningham with the Godman Guild is a part of this. Jewish Family Services, I see their team here. And so we're all working together to come together to make sure that we are preparing individuals for future AI careers. And so lastly, I want to thank the faculty at Franklin University, their president and their board president, for the opportunity for us to collaborate and use this space. And Mr. David White, he's the board president. You want to come up and say something, Mr. David? And, oftentimes in this work, people talk about competing. And there is no competition when you got 2.5 million people that live in this Central Ohio region. This work has to happen together. We got to do it together, and there's so much. Mr. David White, I know you're on the panel, but this is your space, so you do get some time.
Thanks, Perry, and thanks to the NCUS organization. We've been trying to work with NCUS to take what they do to the next level. So hopefully we can get that all worked out, but we want to make sure that it doesn't just stop. This is lifelong learning. And we really feel good about working with NCUS and want to continue with that partnership. I'm just going to end with Franklin University, what? Makes it possible. That's right. That's marketing.
Using your space, y'all get free marketing. But here's what I will say. Thank you for joining us tonight on Advancing AI in the Black community. The billionaire Robert Smith says, this is the most dynamic technology in the last 50 years in the United States. But I'm going to ask you two critical questions, things that's happening right here in Central Ohio. All you got to do is raise your hand. If you know that Columbus, Ohio is one of the leading enterprise AI hubs in America, raise your hand. If you know that Columbus, Ohio, recently, through a major partnership, has made a $100 million investment in AI startups, raise your hand. How many of us are a part of that? So, tonight's conversation is about access. And at NCUS Tech and NCUS, our number one thing is access. We have to make sure that we are accessing all of the available tools that are out there. I tell people all the time, if it's not through us, there's a lot of people doing this work in this community. Access it. The next conversation is about awareness. People are talking about, is AI coming? You heard Dr. Gregory say this. AI is here and it's been here. I tell people, Mr. Gregory is one of the best users of AI. He got this Siri thing and he make about 72 calls a day. And text messages at 5 in the morning. He is using AI. But many are calling this the greatest technology advancement since the steam engine, since the dot-com era. And NVIDIA, which is the fastest growing company in the world, said this. This will produce the most millionaires in the last 20 years. And this conversation tonight is to make sure Black wealth starts with building opportunities right here in this community. But tonight we're going to have, and we started this conversation about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, Mr. Grady said, I want to get into tech. I said, Mr. Grady, if we get into tech, we got to buy robotics. So you see those videos back there. We got robotics in our building now. But he pushed us and he challenged us because we were doing traditional workforce. And we read this article from the McKinsey Institute, which we have the Black man in the room who wrote that report. So y'all better give him, this was a report that when people are looking up data about what AI is going to do to the economy, they're using this Black man's report all across the country. And so we brought him tonight because we're going to have a candid conversation, and he's going to do a presentation about what he's seeing. But here's what I'm telling people. It's a part of our daily life. It's a part of how we work. It's a part of the future. It's a part of business. It's a part of science. It's a part of everything that we are involved in our daily life. And we have to make sure, children, it's not just about learning the tools. It's about learning the skill of prompting, being authentic with your prompting. And so we are moving from a knowledge-based economy to a skills-based economy. And NVIDIA CEO said this: those who use AI will not get replaced. Those who don't use AI, good luck. And so we brought to you tonight an esteemed panelist, Tony Cunningham. She's a bad sister right there, ain't she? She's going to be up here. We got Mr. David White, who is one of the leading VP entrepreneurs across this country and leading VP of a leading national company. We have Mr. Dr. Christopher Washington, who's led a lot of this work right here at Franklin University. A lot of the growth, Dr. Washington played a key role in. We have Senator Reynolds, who's going to be talking from a government, but also talking from an entrepreneur, the work that she's doing. And then we have Mr. Dwayne Pender. So next up, we have Mr. Dwayne Pender for a short presentation. And here, this is quiet. So after he does his presentation, we're going to give the mic, and we want people to start asking questions. When we have our panelists, when we're talking, we're going to pause for you to ask the questions that you need to hear. And so, Mr. Dwayne Pender, you are up to give your presentation.
How's everyone doing? You sure? Okay. Well, I appreciate you all making the time. My name is Dwayne Pender. I'm a partner at McKinsey & Company. McKinsey is a large management consulting organization, and we work with businesses across the country on topics of change and technology. In addition to the work I do with my clients every day, I help to run an institute, the McKinsey Institute for Economic Mobility. And we've been putting out research on things of how do you create economic mobility for the Black community, for the Latino community, for the rural community. And one of those early pieces of research was this piece of research called Automation and the Future of the African American Workforce. And so I'm excited to be with you all today to talk about some of the latest research that we've been seeing on artificial intelligence and what it means not just for our entire economy, but what it means for the Black community. So 4 big takeaways, and I won't be with you long because I want to make space for this amazing panel to have a discussion about what do we do with the data. But four things I want to just leave you all with. One is there's a clear definition for what it takes for an individual to thrive. And we have clear data about what it takes for individuals and families to thrive across core life outcomes. But when we look at that data, which is point number 2, consistently across the country, Black residents are doing worse than white residents. In every single community, in every single place across the country, there's no place where Black residents are doing better than white residents. And so that is the context in which artificial intelligence enters. Artificial intelligence is poised to rapidly reshape the way that we do work and we do life. As the prior speakers have said, it's going to massively reshape, just our everyday, day-to-day activities. And so without targeted intervention that is collaborative across the public sector, the private sector, and the social sector, the technology that we're speaking about has the potential to widen already really large gaps. And so we have an opportunity to act today and going forward to ensure that that doesn't happen, and to ensure that artificial intelligence is actually used as a tool to accelerate economic mobility. Okay, so those are the 4 big things. So on the first point, we did a study called The State of Black Residents, and it looked at these clear definitions of what it takes to thrive in a community. Things like having a stable and secure home, things like having financial stability, things like having job opportunities. And so we looked at these outcomes, looked at 25 metrics that support these outcomes, and we looked at them for every single county across the country, 3,000 plus counties in the United States. And we measured the time, we measured them at 2 periods, one in 2012 and one is in 2021. And we asked the question of, how are Black folks doing? How are Black folks doing relative to white folks? Then are the gaps that we see between Black residents and white residents, are they actually changing? And what we found is that nowhere across the country is there a place where Black residents are doing as well as white residents. And if you just focus on specifically Ohio, there's no place, there's no county in Ohio where Black residents are doing as well as white residents. Uh, then you ask the question, which is, well, is there a place where Black residents are close? And the answer is there is, but very small number of places. There's only about 9% of places where Black residents are doing about 2/3 as well as white residents. So the gaps in Ohio are large. And then if you ask the question, well, if you shrink that and you say, well, how are there places where Black residents are doing 75% or more better? There's only 2% of counties in Ohio where Black residents are doing as well as white residents. So the gaps, particularly in the places that we sit, are already significant. And so then if we localize and we say, well, what's happening in Franklin County? We just focus. Franklin County is one of the largest counties in Ohio. It's the fastest growing. And one of the reasons that it's one of the fastest growing is because of Black residents. Black residents are driving the growth in this region. And so when people talk about, Franklin County is fast growing, Columbus is a fast growing region, it is because of Black residents. The challenge is that Black residents are doing about half as well as white residents are doing. And that is a significant statistic because Black residents in Franklin County, the disparities between white residents are some of the largest in the country. So when you look at other cities that look similar to Columbus, the gaps between Black residents and white residents are smaller. And the question that we asked is, well, these gaps are big. How long would it take to close the gaps? And the answer across the country is 300 years. So 300 years at the current pace to close some of the gaps. But in Franklin County and in Columbus, the gaps are larger and the pace is slower. So how long would it take to close the gaps in Columbus or in Franklin County? The number is 700 years, right? So 700 years to actually close the gaps. And this is pre-artificial intelligence. This is just looking at the past 10 years and the trajectory that we're on. There are some good bright spots. There are places in the region where Black folks are doing really well. The challenge is the access to those places are a lot smaller. And so we need to think about not only how do we improve access in general, but how do we improve and replicate the access for those specific places where Black folks are doing well. And so if you say, okay, well, what's driving this challenge? There are three things that we've found that is driving the challenge. One is housing, right? Housing has a significant challenge, and the gaps in housing are stark and they're growing. Two is health and life expectancy. Again, disparities are large and they're growing. And the third is education and skill development, which is what we're talking about today. Gaps are large, gaps are growing. And this is before artificial intelligence. This is before looking at technology. This is the current context that we operate in, right? So let me move to artificial intelligence. So as a prior speaker said, artificial intelligence is reshaping the economy. And we released a report called Agents, Robots, and Us. And it basically looks at categories of work. And you can imagine that there are three main categories that overlap. There are people-centric jobs. Think your registered nurse. These are jobs where you actually have to have a human interact to do the work. There are agent-centric jobs. Imagine these are software developers and computer types of technologies. These are jobs where many agents, things that are being done via your LLM, artificial intelligence models, can do them for you. And then there are robot-centric jobs. These are jobs that are physical but can be automated. So you think about industrial truck drivers and you think about automated autonomous vehicles. These are jobs where robots theoretically can do a majority of those tasks. And then you think about the overlap. There are jobs that are people and agent jobs where you are in a knowledge worker job. You're a project manager where you are working with people, but you're also interacting with artificial intelligence on a regular basis. There is people and robot jobs. There are jobs where you are interacting with robots to actually produce things. And then there are agent robot jobs, right? And then there are also people agent robot jobs. And so the nature of work is changing, right? Many jobs that we see now are going to be enabled by technology, either through artificial intelligence using agentic artificial intelligence, or enabled via robotic intelligence, or both. And so as we think about what work looks like in the future, it's going to be vastly different than what it looks like today. And so what does that mean, right? If you look at what does it mean for the state of Ohio, there are kind of two parts of this chart, right? The y-axis is activities that are of jobs that are automatable versus non-automatable, right? And then there are jobs that are physical and non-physical. So the majority of work in the state of Ohio is non-physical work that is technically automatable. 44% of the work that's happening in the state of Ohio is what we would call agent automatable jobs. These are jobs that could be done today by primarily an agent, right? There's 14% of jobs that are physical and non-physical, and they are automatable. So these are jobs that are done primarily by robots. You put those things together, that means 58%, so almost 60% of the work activity in the state of Ohio could be done by not a human, right? And that is higher than the national average, right? So the occupational mix in the state of Ohio is more at risk relative to the standard population. And then when you say, okay, well, what does that mean for the Black community? You look at, these are the job categories in general, and they are ranked by how much of the jobs activities can be done with technology. The blue part is pre-generative AI, and then the black part is post-generative AI. So an office support job, 87% of that job right now could be done with currently available technology. Then you go down to like property maintenance, less than 40% of that job could be done with technology. And you ask the question, okay, you have these job categories, how are Black folks represented? The top 5 jobs that have the most automation potential, Black folks are overrepresented in 4 out of 5 of those. So you look at the jobs that we are doing today, Black folks are overrepresented in the jobs that are more at risk. And so the imperative for everybody is to figure out how are they going to transition, but the imperative for Black folks in particular is even more stark. There's a lot of work to do, and we are already operating in a space where the disparities are large. And so what does this mean? There's a few things that we see. One is we have to have an integrated ecosystem that has a detailed understanding of what are the skills of the future. There has to be a partnership between job seekers, employers, training providers, community organizations, and state governments that are really rooted in what are the skills of the future. The second is you actually need detailed coordination between the education system, between K-12, community colleges, and universities to actually make sure that folks actually have the skills that are necessary. And there needs to be a process and a support system for people who are going to experience moments of transition, given that their jobs are transitioning. How do we help folks who are in jobs of today transition to the jobs of tomorrow? And then if we think about, well, how can states and workforce stakeholders and other leaders support workers? There's a few things, right? If you just think about people first roles, we're going to actually need training on critical thinking, problem solving. These are the things that are not going to be agentified away. These are critical skills that are still really important, and we need to continue to train folks on them. The second is, if you think about the roles where you're going to need to collaborate with a robot or an agent or both, how do we train folks on how to do that? How do we train folks on how to actually collaborate on a daily basis with this technology to get things done? And then for folks who are going to experience disruption, how do we have outreach and support for those who are most at risk to ensure that they can manage the transition and provide for their families while they are transitioning? So there's a lot of work to do, And the context is the technology is moving quickly, but it's happening in a context not just nationally, but locally, where we already have significant disparities, and where those disparities are not closing, they are widening. So I'm excited for the conversation. A lot of work to do, but I know we have the folks in this room to help solve the challenge. Thank you.
You can sit over there. So, my first question is, that's some high level data that you talked about. When you look at across the country, what cities or counties would you say is doing it right?
I mean, um, I I think the bad news is I don't have a city for you, right? I, there is not a place where we look in the data that is actually moving in the right direction when it comes to outcomes. Um, I think there are places that are doing some interesting things, though. I think, like the city of Atlanta, for instance, has a set of place-based initiatives that are really focused on neighborhoods that have been underserved, partnering with their business community. The city of Philadelphia is doing something similar. But if you said, is there a city that has figured this out? There is no city. That being said, that the exciting part is Columbus has the potential to be that place. And so it would be interesting to say, what does it look like for Columbus to actually lead the way, given all the investments that you talked about, given the significant Black population, not just in general, but in leadership? What would it look like for Columbus to lead the way?
One of your data elements, you talked about 60% of the Black workers in Central Ohio are in those roles that are at risk. I think we got to go deeper into what those roles look like. We're talking about accountants. We're talking about call center workers. So take a deeper dive into the key roles that many of these workers in this room are probably working in.
Yeah. So there's a few things. One is like you take fast food workers, right? Fast food workers, that's a job not just nationally but locally that has a overrepresentation of Black workers. Some of those are folks who are brand new in their careers, who are just starting off, but some of those folks are folks who are supporting families on a less than minimum wage salary. Many of those jobs, for instance, are decreasing over time because the technology is being utilized to be able to take your order in an automated fashion, to create your order in an automated fashion, for instance. So that's one example. But the other example you highlighted is accountants. So the challenge that we've seen is many entry level white collar jobs are also being disrupted. And those have been the jobs traditionally that have been the pathways to opportunity for Black folks, especially that have college degrees. And so the question is, like, your initial accountant or your initial researcher or data analyst, a lot of those activities can be done with technology today. And so the question is, what are the things that we are focusing on that, is not able to be automated or not able to be disrupted with technology? And it's the like person to person interactions. It's the conversations that folks have. Those things cannot be automated. And how do we create an economy where folks are focused on those things? I think that's the question.
All right. Anybody in the crowd got a question?
I'm not sure everyone gets the opportunity to read the McKinsey reports. This is rich, powerful information. And I just wonder, how can we amplify that to the broader population of people? What might we do to amplify your message?
It's a good question. So I would just say two things. One is, in general, I think using data is better than not using data. I think there are too many conversations, too many decisions, too many priorities that are set without data. And so I think that a general question of what is the data behind our certain priorities, or what is the data that we're using to make decisions, I think is a good question. It doesn't have to be McKinsey data, but I think just increasing the data use in decision making, I think would be thing number one. Thing number two is, um, you know, I think the thing that I think about is, you know, who is going to have access to a long McKinsey report? Someone who has like broadband access, someone who has the time to be able to read, someone who has the ability to be able to like distill the information. The thing that we're thinking about transparently at the Institute is how do we make our information as accessible to folks who don't meet those criteria. And so I'd welcome, you know, thoughts from you all about ways that we can get our message out and this data out to other folks who, you know, don't fit that category.
Hello, my name is Norma Richards, and I am the founder of Epic AI Builders, the company. We train folk in AI architect. So we build AI agents and architect. So it's my kids. They're all engineers. And one of the things that the reason why I want to answer your question, they're all engineers, is because I looked at what would be in demand when they graduated from college. So we know now what is in demand. AI needs a human touch. It can't be just AI. We need our students to learn math. We need our students to, you know, people, I used to think playing video games was a bad thing, but it's AI. And if we can get our kids to engage in even building games, that's AI. We have to find a way to engage them. So I'm answering your question.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for stating that, because that's what we're trying to get the community to understand, is that the optimism of this comes and says, now we got to get back focused on education. You know, 50, 60 years ago, when black people were creating the lights, were creating railroads, there's a black woman who was one of the key founders of AI technology. We got to get our black young people focused on engineering pathways. So AI engineering is a growing pathway. You know, computer science. You know, we had a conversation with Intel's VP many years ago, myself and Mr. Gregory, and we asked him two questions. To work at Intel, what would be the foundational skill? They didn't say prompting. They said math and science. That's right. And so we have to make sure that we focus on the core elements of education as we move our community forward. We're going to one more question, and DC Bivens, you get to get this mic.
Just really quick, we talk about young people, but particularly for our more seasoned community, how do we work with them now so they're prepared for some of the changes that's ahead of us currently right now?
Yeah. So effectively, I would say that like you have the broader workforce development landscape. There is not high quality workforce development providers. And so I think the thing that we could do is funnel more dollars into those that we know are high quality, right? And actually help those folks scale their services to more people.
Smart Columbus, when we talk about digital learning, they're giving out 10,000 free certifications, and we got to start with the foundation of the Internet of Things, how to use the internet. Because the digital divide in the Black community is our biggest problem. We don't have quality internet in the households. So we got households who are just using one device for a family of 5. And we know that slows down the fiber that is running through the household. And so we got to make sure that at NCUS Tech, you know, we offer free learning classes for seniors through our Franklin County Department of Aging project, where seniors have the opportunity to come, and they love it. Seniors all the time talk about, we ain't know we can be this good. My grandma, she texts us so much. I'm like, Grandma, you loving this texting thing. And so that's the NCUS Tech, Godman Guild.
That's right.
Jewish family, we are quality providers. And oftentimes we're begging people to come into our classes. And so people oftentimes say the government is not so, they are. But we need the community to stop waiting and go fill up these classes. We shouldn't be paying for marketing. The opportunity is, I tell people all the time, and what you're about to learn from Tracy is Microsoft has free platforms. LinkedIn has free platforms. We got a partnership with IBM. It's free. And so the information is there. We just got to push and make sure that people take advantage of it.
That like the folks who are doing really great things in workforce development, they are not known as well as they could be. And so if you said, who are all of the organizations that do some sort of workforce development in Columbus, Ohio, you would have a very long list. But then if you ask the question, who are the folks who are providing high quality, skills-based training that has actually led to increases in outcomes, that list would be a lot shorter. And I don't think the community actually knows the difference between those two. And I don't transparently know if funders know the difference between those two. And I think, we need to be funneling more money to the organizations that are doing really great work that have outcomes. And we have to funnel less money to the organizations that don't have those outcomes. So I think that's the big thing.
You all, with this QR code tonight, scan this QR code and sign up for your free AI training. Yes. So you can take suggested models of AI literacy, explore learning, ethical considerations for generative AI, getting started with artificial intelligence, how to build your first chatbot. You have to use this link. Go ahead and sign up. You can share this link out so you can take it home and you can sign up your whole family. But what we want to make sure is when we talk about no one being left behind, that starts with you tonight. If you leave out of here without scanning that QR code, then that tells me that you're, one, not interested, or you just don't want to do it. But it also says that we have to be responsible. So in being responsible, as we begin this conversation, I want to make sure that you all leave with something. I didn't want to do it at the end because, some of y'all be slipping out like at church, that one finger. So I wanted to catch y'all right now. Right now, make sure you scan this QR code for your free training. All right? You can sign up tonight, and this is through IBM Skills Build. There are there's thousands of courses on there, but I will want you to start with that AI first. Invest in yourself. You don't even have to pay for it. We're giving it to you for free. Everybody's not doing that. Everybody's not doing that. Because we have access and we have the partnerships that we have, we're able to do this for the community. And so we'll be saying, so people who didn't come tonight, yes, they will still get the link. I'm going to send it out again. They will get this link, access to free training. But this is our gift to you. We don't want to just talk about it. We want to be about it. So let's get to this panel and get this started.
I know you got a bunch of questions for him, but I'm going to throw this to David White because you're in the industry.
So I would say I have to work with this and live this every day. And I'm in a role where I'm making decisions around the investments that we make, how we use AI in our daily operations. And the honest truth is it's not easy because you've got people that have been in their jobs for years, and now I'm asking them to do something different, something that they may not have the right skills in. And I work in my organization's the RTI International. It's the acronym is the Research Triangle Institute, headquartered in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, and we do really deep research for primarily the federal government. So one of the projects that I've been responsible for working on is we get medical bills from all across the country, bring them in, get all that data, we do the analysis on it, and we then provide that information back to the National Institute of Health or the Medicare and Medicaid agencies, and they set the billing rates for the country. So what your hospital bill is a direct result of the data that we get, and we do the analysis. We have I can't even tell you how many data scientists, and these are PhD level people that work on this stuff. And they're
they're not really happy about some of this AI because it's disrupting them. No one likes disruption, but you can't stop it. So we have to figure out how we can embrace it, and that is one of the most difficult things that I've been having to deal with over this my time at this organization.
So when you say that and then it being difficult, what are some solutions that you thought of? Maybe you haven't done them yet, but some things that you kind of see on the foresight. What would some of those solutions be?
So I think that a lot of companies are trying to figure it out. A lot of companies know that if they don't use AI, if they don't disrupt themselves, they're going to disrupt us and they may not be here in the future. And so one of the first things that companies have done is said, we're going to give AI to everybody. That's a mistake, right? Because you can give it to them, and it's one of those things where just because you give it to them doesn't mean that people will use it. It needs to be more directed, and you need to create communities where people can actually communicate and talk about where they've actually been able to use it, what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them. I've built prompts, so let me have a prompt library where I don't have to recreate some of these things. There's a lot of different things we can do within the corporate space to enable our teams to be better. And so we're really starting to try and figure that out. There are some companies that have gone all in and adopted AI and started to let people go. And I think that's pretty aggressive. To give you an example or an idea of how this is moving, I'll use Meta, the parent of Facebook, as the example. Mark Zuckerberg really wants all of his employees to use AI. And so there's about 85,000 employees at Meta. And as they encourage people to use AI, the internal team said, we need to figure out who's the best at this. And so they created an internal dashboard to see who was using the most AI. And AI is measured, if you haven't heard this term, by tokens that are consumed. They have the dashboard they call Token Legend. Who's got the best? Who's the top 10 here? I'm not going to tell you who's the top 10 because it's kind of irrelevant, but the number that is really relevant is the number of tokens that they consume on a monthly basis using AI. Anybody have any idea how many tokens Meta's staff is consuming on a monthly basis? And a token, let me go back. A token can be a single word, it could be a picture, it could be a portion of a word. So a word, and the reason that's relevant is because we can tell you all kinds of things. We can tell you that AI can do natural language processing. It can understand English like you do. It's translated into numbers. It's all math. At the end of the day, it's all math, right? And so token is a way to measure that. So let me go back. Who can guess how many tokens Meta is consuming on a monthly basis? 60 trillion tokens a month.
A month?
A month.
A month. That's staggering.
Man, that's a good word. So now y'all know tokens.
Right.
You talking about blockchain and Bitcoin. Those are all centered around tokens. So let's go to Senator.
All right, Senator. Let's see. As we look to lead the way here in Ohio, how can our public policies help the Black community move from just using AI apps to helping design the future of this technology? Now, how can we create smart community hubs in our neighborhoods that keep our personal information safe while opening new jobs and businesses? And then most importantly, how do we build the trust needed to make this a reality for everyone? And then kind of tell them about what you're doing too.
Pretty loaded. Can you hear me?
I think you have to push the button.
Go on.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm very excited to be a part of this conversation. It truly is important. But what we're talking about tonight is not just about technology. It's so much bigger than that. AI is an economic asset. And it's about power. It's about who owns it, who builds it, and who benefits from it. And for the longest time, as a Black community, we have been more on the consumer side. Consumerism is crippling us. We need to be on the producing side. We need to produce something. And AI, what I like to say, is a great equalizer because it's going to allow us to solve problems at a greater level faster. It's not going to take us 300 years. It's not going to take us 700 years. This is going to allow us to not just catch up, but to level up and to leverage AI to do so. And I think this is our opportunity. I love that what was said was that we have plenty of great providers. We really do. But it is up to us to have that growth mindset and go after the information. AI is allowing us to be able to bring information directly in our homes, bring education directly in our laps, in our households. And if we don't go after it, shame on us. This is an opportunity for us to create our future. We are the most creative people that I know. And AI is a tool that's going to allow us to do it. So it's a catalyst, and we need to look at this as an economic asset. And this is an asset that we can dominate. Like I said, this is not about catching up. This is about leveling up. And in the state of Ohio, we have made such a huge investment in making sure that we upskill. You need to know that word, that we upskill people that are in the workforce. I serve as the vice chair on the Workforce Development Committee in the Senate. I'm also the chair of the Housing Committee. There is, no shortage of problems that we're trying to solve. But one thing that we do know here in Ohio is that we are a state that is innovating faster. We have so many jobs and so many jobs that are created and so many companies that are coming here, more than what we have kids in school today. But it's not just about jobs. It's about the skilled laborers or the skilled people to take those jobs. If you're not skilled, what difference does it make if there's a job on the market? It's not for you. So we have made a huge investment in trying to upskill individuals who are currently with companies. We are investing and we are giving companies, we are reimbursing them to upskill their workforce. It's called Tech Cred. And I love that NCUS is leading the way and making sure that Black people are being able to leverage this economic asset and level up. But if we don't do it, shame on us. So that's what I wanted to say about that. But it's so much bigger than technology. The goal here is to make sure that we are dominating in an area. Like I said, consumerism is killing us. We have to produce. We have to produce, and that's going to take a growth mindset. And the only way we're going to get that growth mindset is through education. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So these smart community hubs, I want you to think about what this could really look like in our community. We already have places that we frequent, right? We frequent our libraries, we frequent our coffee shops, we frequent even our faith institutions. We're people of faith. But these smart community hubs can be something that look more like kind of like an incubator. So imagine with me that we go on a Saturday morning to a building that is this smart community hub. And it's a place where we go in one room, maybe we have a group of young innovative thinkers who are actually solving community problems by engaging AI. Think like a think tank, and they're just in this room and they're saying, okay, what are some of the problems that we need to solve for our own community? And they're coming up with those ideas and policies, and AI is helping them do that. Now across the hall, we actually also have some of our seniors or some folks that are trying to, do something different. They're very entrepreneurial, and they're being able to use AI to help market their product or create new products or use technology to create products. And then in the center of all that, we have our technologists, we have mentors, we have people that we trust that are actually helping us. We are collaborating and we are actually producing at a very high level in our community. And then we're taking that model and we're scaling it all over the state of Ohio. Now we have our own centers that we can produce this. But not only that, we have data integrity because we own our own data. We have our own data center within that community hub that we can own that data. So there's fidelity there. We have trust. We have people in the room that we trust. We own that data. We're producing. And now, because we're producing, people are buying what we have instead of us buying what they have. And that's the way that we break the mold. We break out of what we've been in for so long, which is being people produce products off of what we want. It's always what we want to accumulate. It's now time for us to change the game and for them to buy what we have. And so I'm very excited about this opportunity. And I think that right here in Ohio, and I'm excited about that there's no city that's really doing this, because we should own this. We should own this space. This is our opportunity to shine, thrive, and show them what we got. So yeah, we can.
So if everybody didn't write that down, you said own the space. And that's what AI is about. It's owning the space. So Tracy, let's pass this over to this wise educator right here, Mr. Washington, Dr. Washington.
Dr. Washington, my previous former provost. One good thing about Dr. Washington, can I say it? He is the first and only provost emeritus for Franklin University. Is that correct? So give it up. So he's owning that space. He owned that space while he was here, and he still owns a little bit of it. So I like that. So Dr. Washington, you often talk about moving from being architects to navigators of our own lives. For our students and our families in the community, how can we change the way we look at higher education, any type of training, so that AI isn't seen as a shortcut, all right, but as a personal tutor that helps us think deeper and learn faster? How do we make sure our institutions are using technology to close the gap for our students and our communities rather than being left behind?
You'll notice Tracy AI those questions too.
That's a big question.
That's
I did. And I told, and listen, and then when I asked AI, I said, make it specifically for Dr. Christopher Washington, David White, Senator Michelle, because it knew, see, you all knew, you learned in the beginning of this conversation that AI knows you, right? So you know it knows you, so why not ask? All right, okay, let's go.
Can you all hear me okay? Good, I can hear me now. I served as provost for over 20 years here. And my role was to make sure that the curriculum that we offer was relevant to the world, to advancing the human condition, to improving the professions. And that takes a lot of effort, because everything's changing so fast. And in more recent years, I mean, rapid change. There was a time when we changed maybe our humanities courses every 2 or 3 years. Computer science, about every year. But now every 3 months, 6 months, we almost have to, universities have to adopt just in time to do that. When I left the university to lead this think tank, ILI think tank, I shifted my focus from university to learning ecosystems, to think about organizations like this one, NCUS, to think about training providers, to think about corporate universities, to think about opportunities that are just available to citizens through nonprofits, et cetera, and how we need to work together to build an ecosystem that supports not just access, but success. Access is a wonderful beginning, right? You have been provided access to some AI learning tools. The question now becomes, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to take the initiative to engineer the time in your life to build competence around these tools and this technology? And are you going to be an ambassador for its use to other people? Can you spread it out to 5 people and tell them, hey, you need to take this course? Because it's got to be a grassroots movement in this learning ecology. It can't just be dependent on universities or nonprofits. It has to be all of us having some part to play in encouraging its responsible use. What is it? This is different, folks. I've been in education a long time. I can tell you we have been working very hard to assure that graduates of universities are good communicators, that they're critical thinkers, that they're problem solvers. I saw all that up on the screen from the McKinsey report. But this is different, because it's another level of competence in working with an expert that knows everything that's in your pocket.
Wow.
All right. Now you have to say, how do I frame problems in ways that it understands me? And that requires context. It requires the knowledge of maybe disciplines like math and science, social science, humanities. Context. It requires knowledge of roles. Act like a project manager, or be the CEO of this company. You've got to know roles. in order to give this sufficient guidance. And we're just talking about large language processing models. There are all kind of AI tools out there, but it demands more from you.
Stop right there. You got to dumb it down a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Talk about large language models, because that is the framework of AI. So you got to give us some education on that.
Dave, you want to talk about that from your perspective?
Everybody don't understand that.
Yeah, so I'll talk about it a little bit. So a lot of what you see out there that you have access to, OpenAI, ChatGPT, these things, those are known as foundational models. They are and OpenAI was the first one to have broad adoption because it was the first one kind of market. And that is where you take massive amounts of data and you train a computer model and use that algorithm to make that model smarter. I would say that the very early stages of a lot of these things is a brain in a bottle. Think about it like that. A giant brain in a bottle with massive amounts of information that it can easily access and retrieve answers. And in some cases now, when we get to agentic, it's making up its own answers, right? It's forming its own opinions around what is going on. And I'll talk about the next evolution of this, which is even more scary. But that's where you start. One last thing before I go back to Christopher, though. Another question for the audience. How much does it cost to create a large language model, a foundational model? Any ideas?
We're about to start making up stuff.
No. There's a reason why everybody's not able to do it. Right now, the baseline cost is about $100 million or more, right? Right? It's not for everybody. Right? That's why you have these big companies that have done this. And I'll talk briefly about this, but the reason you see some of these things and you see a lot of things in the media around some of these models is because it's very expensive and it's all been funded through putting money at it with the opportunity of making money in the future. None of these companies have made any money yet, right? But they're on their way towards IPOs. They're going to issue stock, and that's when you're going to start to see them making money. But a lot of these Anthropics, the OpenAIs, they haven't made any money on what they've done so far. We've pushed billions of dollars into these companies to create this, and it's really meant to, it's almost like an arms race. We want to get there before the Chinese get there or others get there. But that's kind of where we are in the world today.
So Chris, let me ask you this question. So how do we manage and make sure that education institutions are really implementing this? Because a lot of teachers are scared. And so how do you balance out this optimism of how we got to be training AI in our schools?
Okay, I'd like to answer that. I want to say, first of all, you gave me permission to throw the hard questions to him. So that's why I asked you the large language model. That's great. Now, I want to get to that point because first there was this notion of AI is the great equalizer. I want to just amend that just a little bit by saying it has the potential to be the great equalizer. The agency of people using it is going to be really essential. The question that comes around to you is that you're asking is the responsibility of institutions to create the conditions that enable people to use it appropriately and responsibly is going to be really critical. How we engage teachers in preparing our students to use it is going to be critical. We can't allow for people to say, no, we're not going to use AI. Because in effect, it has the potential to become not just the great equalizer, but it can legitimize inequality when we don't enable people to use it. Shame on us if we have these incredible tools that are advancing the world and we're not building the opportunity to learn them in our classrooms.
I think that's to drop the mic. That's to drop the mic. You're right. You're so right. And so when we talk about education and we talk about educating our own and we talk about the systems that we are in the classrooms, we have to not only just educate, we have to educate the teachers. Teachers have to be willing to give up those traditional ways to understand that now you have a co-pilot. You're still the pilot, but now you have a co-pilot that makes you do things even faster, even more functional. They have something called the AI playground for teachers and educators. You literally can take this AI platform, go in, talk about a problem that you're having with a student in the class, whether he has an IEP or he has some learning disabilities. AI will punch out everything that you can do in that classroom environment for that student. Things that took you hours to figure out, phone calls to parents, you now have an agent that can help you fundamentally operate in that classroom. And that's where I always tell people, it only can take your job if you let it. You have to be able to use the tools that we have. And you're right, Dr. Washington, shame on us if we don't. I had a friend who told me she almost lost her business because she didn't want to get on the internet back when the internet was moving really fast. And so now AI is here, and she said, no longer will I be that naive. We cannot be naive. We as a people, that's why we're here in this room. That's why y'all still sitting here. Typically in these type of situations, people will be like, oh, I'm staying for 10 minutes and leave. But you all are hungry. And so because you're hungry, we want to make sure you get fed tonight. I just want to drop the mic right back over to
Yeah, because now we got to come down to the everyday people.
Yeah, we do, because that's what
Come on, Tony. We at the everyday people now.
Everyday people. So Miss Tony Cunningham, President and CEO of Gottman Guild. You know better than anyone else that human connection is what truly changes lives. You do it every day. How can we help our community see AI not as a replacement for people, but as a navigator that helps us get things done more efficiently? If AI can handle the paperwork, how can that free up your team to spend more time heart to heart, time on the complex, time in the complex of human needs that a computer simply cannot touch? Because one thing we know a computer can't touch is our soul, right? It can't touch your soul. It doesn't have the ability to do it. So I'm gonna throw it at you because we want to hear this. They want to hear this.
They want to hear it. Well, first of all, I would start by saying there's a mindset shift that needs to happen in our community. Hard stop. There's a mindset shift. And I see it whether you're working in our organizations or whether you're coming to be served. And so often people wait to be fed. They're like, if you feed me, then I'm gonna eat it all up. Now, I may not do anything with it, but I'm going to at least absorb what you give me. And we have to start to talk to people about going and get it. There's a song I listen to every morning. My hype song is Go Get Your Blessing. I don't know if any of y'all know it by Mary Mary, Go Get Your Blessing. You have to go get it. My blessing is out there, but I have to go get it. And so when Perry talked about we have these classes available, we have funding support and all that, I have empty seats. Why do I have empty seats when employers are saying we got all these jobs and no people, and people are saying I ain't got no job? Why do I have empty seats? And so I think there's a mindset shift that we have to encourage and inspire, because I always say motivation is internal. I can't motivate you, but I can inspire you to action. So what is our language that we are using to inspire people to action? And I don't want to scare people. I don't want to say, oh my God, if you don't learn AI, you're going to be broke, busted, and disgusted forever because you ain't going to be able to do nothing in about 5 years. But the truth of the matter is gateway jobs are going away. And I will say that traditionally, the way we structured, especially community-centered workforce programs, you were unemployed and you needed to come and learn just the basics. And we're going to get you your gateway job. And it may start at McDonald's. It may start in a call center. It may start as an administrative assistant. And then we're going to try to keep you coming back to upskill so that you can get to a better job and a better paying job. Well, all of the jobs I just named can go away with AI. And so how do we start making sure that people have critical thinking skills? How do we start making sure that people are self-initiators? How do we start making sure that people are using their creative minds? Because we all have them. I always tell people all the time, when you come to me, I'm not giving you anything. You already have it. My job is to pull it out of you and to show you how to use it and monetize it so you can take care of your family. So how do we start to encourage people to use their natural intelligence and brilliance and curiosity and pair that with teaching them how to use the technology so they can move themselves ahead and make some money? How about that? Because there's nothing stopping people from starting to make multiple streams of income. Yeah, we train people for the traditional path, go get a job, get a career, and kind of grow and work for somebody else. But now I could be working my side hustle through AI, and I know you guys, I took content I wrote 5 years ago in my business. I took all this content I wrote, I had presentations and all this stuff. This is what I knew 5, 6, 7 years ago. I dropped that stuff in AI. It updated it for me. Then I stuck it in Gamma to create the shiny presentations and go out and get the images that match. And I said, don't make it look too robot-y, make it look real. When I tell you my content was recreated like that, so ask me to come speak now and I'm ready because I got a content library that would have taken me years to update, right? How can we show people you have brilliance inside of you and these ideas you're walking around with? Don't come to my workforce program trying to ask me to get you a job. Come telling me what your idea is so I can show you how to turn that into your next gig. And so I think we have to flip the script, right? Right. And we have to, as providers, I love what you said about the opportunity centers. Plug for my new space. I will have exactly the space to do some of the things you talked about. But we as organizations have to flip our business model to be available when the community needs it. I was just telling a group last week, we used to think, okay, workforce programs were for unemployed people who didn't have a job, who came during the day, and then we helped them get a job, and okay, we meet them on their way. Now, the majority of the people that are motivated and ready to work, they're already working, they're just not making enough money. So I can't have a workforce program that's in the daytime. So, okay, team, my staff, guess what? We got to flip our business model because people need to come in the evenings to be able to get upskilled. They can't quit their job with the hopes of a better job. They got to come in the evening. They got to come on the weekends. It means using AI to be more productive, streamline, make sure when people come, we get to the point. So there's so much opportunity, you guys, but it all comes with a mindset shift. And that is the hardest piece. Because even trying to, in our organizations, help our people and our teachers think differently, it's a mindset shift. And we pushing back against 30, 40, 50 years, right? Of people trying to flip their mind. But I think that's where we have to start, is start thinking about this mindset shift, even as your ambassadors. People can't be scared. People can't use it only for the fun stuff. Like, start thinking about how can you use this to increase your skills and make your life better, and then come to us to get more learning around how to really structure that for yourself.
I love that. And let me just say this, optimism. So I read a lot about this tech stuff, and IBM's CEO said something that's critical. They just laid off 20,000 workers. But they laid off 20,000 workers to bring back 10,000 workers who are AI ready for the future. And so while jobs are being automated and will be lost, companies, what they're doing, they're bringing back more skilled talent. And when you look at all of the industries, here's the reality. Technology 30 years ago, it was the same conversation. The internet's coming, it's going to take everybody's jobs. But the reality of it is it creates new opportunities. And so the work that we're doing with Google, a Google Stars partnership, we're doing in about 3 different cities across this country with them. Google has said, because they're building data centers. So there's a lot of conversations about data centers. Well, you can't have AI without the data being housed in some center. And so, but Google has made an investment and says, we're going to skill workers. We're going to have them build the fiber infrastructure of the data centers. So that way we can make sure, and these are 10-year projects. And the companies are hiring in the hundreds. Data center technicians come in, 4 weeks of training through our program. They leave out making $70,000. Women can do it. And these aren't outside infrastructure jobs. These are jobs where people are working inside of a data center. They're plugging wires. They are hard jobs. But you look at science, you look at bioscience. Most people don't know that there's a lot of bioscience companies that are coming right here to Columbus. Amgen, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. They have clean tech roles. These are white coat jobs where, I don't know if you've ever seen, like when the pandemic happened, if you saw China when people wearing white coats, those jobs are here now. And those are jobs that we have to make sure that we are transitioning to. If you were in an office job, you might say, well, let me go work in Amgen and be in a clean tech space. We have Anduril. Anybody know what Anduril is? See, when I talk to employers, I tell them all, I talk to corporations. I'm happy that Mrs. Michelle Reynolds is here because she gets to go back and tell these economic companies. Nobody knows what Anduril is. Anduril is making automated missiles right there on the warehouse. Where all the warehouses is by Rickenbacker. We have automated missiles in Michelle Reynolds' district. They're making automated missiles. They're going to hire 1,000 people here in the next 8 months. And these people at the basis of entry-level jobs, these people are making $125,000. And so we got to get people to take this shift. I used to be the warehouse. So the warehouse job is going to go, the entry-level warehouse job. Now the more advanced maintenance technician job that we're training people at NCUS Tech, those jobs are growing, and there's a whole initiative across the state where they are trying to bring workers from other states across the country for maintenance technician roles. And we got to make sure our people in this community are going into those roles. These are not jobs of the 1950s manufacturing. These are clean tech manufacturing jobs where all you're doing is pushing a button or looking at some machine and clicking another button. And so these roles aren't really hard, but we got to get people to think about them differently. Go ahead.
With that being said,
We got about 5 minutes left too, Tracy, because it's getting real knowledgeable in here.
it is. It is. So, with that being said, as we wrap up this panel, what is one thing I would say that you all? I mean, I heard some really good things. I heard that one, there shouldn't be a reason why Tony's offerings for free training and there's empty seats. I don't understand why as a community, we're not taking those resources back to our homes and not engaging in free training. So that needs to change. But what is one thing that you all would say, like a piece of advice that you all would give, and I'll start with Tony, to each community partner, our ambassadors here now, what advice would you give them moving forward after this conversation? Because we're going to have another conversation, but I know we got to wrap it up. But we're going to have another one, but I want them to give you some information or what you think that the next move should be for them.
And David, we got a lot of small businesses in here. And I want to make sure that you give every small business person in here the conversation about being agentic. So you up, Tony, first.
You up, Tony.
I'm up first. I would just say overall to encourage people to get curious. If you get curious and ask the right questions, you would be surprised where you will end up based on what you do with that information. So encourage curiosity, whether it's in your families, whether it's at work, in your jobs. If you're running an organization, that's what we're doing, getting curious about things that we need to think about to enhance. So just get curious.
Shell.
So I often say that the bigger the problems that you solve, the more money you make. And AI is a catalyst to be able to help you solve big problems. If we really want things to change for us economically, then we are going to have to force our conditions to change. We don't have to wait. We don't have to be on the sideline. We don't have to wait for somebody to come and give it to us. I am very clear that the goal is not digital inclusion. The goal is digital dominance. The access is there. The access is there. NCUS Tech is here. Godman Guild is here. We have a lot of good providers that are doing the role. It's here. Force your condition to change so that we can level up.
So as we were preparing for this panel, I did get a question ahead of time. We didn't get to it, but I did want to address it real quick because I have something I want to share with you guys. The question I was going to get was really around how do we help prevent bias within AI and get involved in the training. The bad news is training's out the station. There's nothing you can do with the foundational models unless you're living in the areas where those workers are and working with those companies. there's not going to be a whole lot of change there. However, I did want to share that there is technology, something called a retrieval augmented generation. The acronym is RAG. What that is it allows you to put a set of data out in front of a large learning model and give you additional context that is relevant to what you want to see. That being said, go to an AI that I just discovered called Latimer, Latimer AI. Started by an African American man, and it is AI with culture built in. They've tapped into the culture, they've tapped into information that is about our community, the Native American communities, and it's sitting in front of a large learning model, and it provides that additional context, the cultural context to some of the prompts that you might put out there. So it's an interesting model. So there is something that someone has leaned into this space. So that being said, as we talk about AI and how we may use it, there's all kinds of tools. Going back to what Tony said, be curious. The only way for you to really get better and to learn more is to experiment. Try something else. If it doesn't work, try something else out. Don't get discouraged. Just keep trying things out until you really start to find something that is really going to resonate with you.
Dr. Washington.
We're all on the same page with this. Look, after access, there's still going to be differences in how we use it. There are going to be people who are going to cut and paste into a field and think that this thing should think for them. Then there are going to be people who believe that it thinks with you. And that's what you want to do. You want to be curious. You want to be creative, bring your creative thinking to this. You want to use judgment. You want to be able to evaluate both the inputs, the things that go into it, context, roles, disciplines, and the outputs, which you have something that the computers don't have, and it's human taste. Human taste, your preferences for outputs and what other people like. This is all about the human condition, folks. We can't just turn that over to technology.
All right.
All right, we got to get the crowd to ask us a couple questions. Did y'all enjoy this conversation?
Enjoy that. So we have Mr. Jackson. He is our Senior VP of Technology. I want to acknowledge him as well. We can take about 2 questions.
Give 4, Tracy. These
4?
listen to us talk really high level.
Okay, they got to go real quick. But I have to, over in the yellow, she's been holding her hand up during the whole conversation, so she must have some. She really want to ask.
I'll
so
be
I want
right
to make
there.
sure. And so we'll take about 4 quick questions. And again, we're going to continue this conversation. This is not the end, but this is just a taste of what we have to do to make sure that we are being proactive in this space of AI.
Hi, thank you. My name is Tamora. I am a certified human-centered AI consultant. And I just want to commend you all for everything that you said today. And I want to add that, in today's employees, I know they said a lot. Some of it was very high level, but I just want to bring it down to another level so that when you are using AI and you're trying to figure out how it fits in your life and what you are doing, plug that into AI. Tell AI, currently I am an accountant, and I think my job may be affected by AI. Tell me some things that I need to do so that my job is stable, or that I can 10x my position so that I won't be the one that gets the axe when it's coming. So I just wanted to lend that. And then also the outreach of the programs that are accessible and available to the community. I think there's a disconnect in how it's getting out, because a lot of us in this room are very interested in being involved in that, but we don't know where to go. So I would just want to bring that to everyone's attention, and that maybe we can try to figure out the best way to get it out so that the word is out, so that those rooms are filled and that we have our people in place and position to up level, upskill, and take over this AI wave.
Well, you're in the right place, because I sent every last one of you an email. So you all have my personal email address. So let's keep these conversations going. Next question.
Let me say this. One of our goals with this is, so we're launching what's called AI Forward, and that's what it's about. Building up the ecosystem, and awareness is at the forefront of that conversation. And so we want to make sure we gather everybody in this room that is a specialist, an architect in this space, that you join us. And so, Mr. Jackson, let's make sure that we get their information as we start to really build out what this awareness initiative will look like.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sandra Burns. I'm the IT Systems Supervisor for Franklin County Public Health. I did some work back in 2021 with our epidemiologist team after the aftermath of COVID. We examined technology access as a social determinant of health, and our work focused in Central Ohio primarily. We looked at the data of internet, smartphones, and computer access across urban and rural populations. We assessed the disparities by age, race, education, and income. And we found that Black communities experience significant inequities in access in all of the categories. So, with that being said, it's important to also consider the broader impacts of emerging technologies. This includes being mindful of AI's environmental footprint and sitting infrastructures such as data centers. In some cases, these developments are near historically marginalized communities, such as parts of Memphis, raising important questions about environmental justice, community impact, and equitable access. So I don't know if that's really a question, but that's something for us to think about because we are all Black and it all affects us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will just, when we talk about those environmental, AWS, they're doing this work in Virginia, and they have, I would say, probably created some of the best modeling of how we need to protect the economic environment, because it's a big conversation. So you're starting to see people say no more data centers in Ohio, particularly in those rural communities as well. But I often tell people, you know, when the car industry hundreds of years ago started up, but I think that those conversations are happening. And I think that we've got to continue to have more education around how do we do it at the same time.
Okay, we have a question, one here, and then one more up in the balcony. I see your hand. And then we have one here. And then we'll have to there are pieces of paper on the table. If you have questions, write those down and we can collect those and then we can answer those questions and email you as well.
Good evening. My name is Latina Lewis. I am a project manager, a consultant, and educator, as well as an AI consultant and educator. My question for anyone on the panel, those of us in the room that may be individual contributors at a job that may be transitioning, what is one thing that we can do within our individual jobs to learn more about what's happening in AI in that particular position? Like, what is an action step that some of us that are in here that are in those roles that might be thinking about, oh, my job might be next. What can we do? And yes, you can ask AI that question, but then at the same time, what can we do in the workspace?
We're going to pass that mic to Ms. Cunningham.
I think what comes to mind immediately for me is look at your industry and the work that you're in and see how your industry is already utilizing AI in other places and spaces, because that'll give you the tea leaves of kind of where things are going. And then when you think about your role inside of that organization or even where you want to go, then that'll give you a little bit more direction on what are the things that I should focus on or how should I take my path forward, you know, and is this really the industry I'm going to stay in, right? So I think just thinking about overall your industry, where you are, where you sit, and seeing how your industry is starting to leverage AI, and then tie that all the way back to your individual role, and then see how you want to move forward from there.
We have one more question up in the balcony.
She's coming down.
Oh, she's coming down? Yeah. And then okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Lowry. I, too, am an AI consultant. I wanted to just put a sense of urgency on everything what the panel said. you guys may have heard of EYL. Um, on the episode the other night, Ian said something very, very important. He they took a tour to NVIDIA, and he asked one of the executives, "What's the landscape looking like for the future?" And the executive said, "We have 4 years, 4 years before AI take over all innovation and all invention." I want y'all to think about that. So get in these classes, these courses, teach your kids,
Teach your kids, teach your grandkids.
and let's go.
Preschoolers. I mean, it starts there.
Last question right
The
here.
question.
Make sure we get a question.
Nah, that ain't. So my name is Jasmine Henderson, and I use AI in a lot of my businesses. I also worked in environmental justice for a number of years. So actually, my question is more of a call to action to the legislator. How we do data centers, how most businesses do them, it's real lazy. There are emollients and other things that can create basically closed loop systems in data centers that wouldn't have the impact on our environment, right? And so when we talk about redlining and so many different things that impact our community, that's one of the things we could do. So I just wanted to urge you to understand what that looks like because they capitalists and they lazy. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Um, my other point was just helping people understand what self-employment and entrepreneurship looks like. There's no way for us to talk about agentics and AI without talking about the fact that 73% of most of the workforce will be self-employed by like 2035. So that's all I really wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory.
Here you go.
Dr. Gregory.
I just want to be part of thanking everyone for coming, but I think the McKinsey report should leave us with some thought. He said that in Franklin County, the wealth gap is huge. I'm going to say that again. The wealth gap is huge. So we should be thinking about, with a collective mind, how do we move forward with the knowledge of AI to close that wealth gap? And how do we put our differences down, put our politics down, put our religion down, put our attitudes down, and become to think in one mind? How do we take the advantage of AI and build a better Black community? I think that's what we got to. You don't leave this room without hearing the data. The data is truth. And I can give you an example. We do technology training classes free. In some classes, I've had to go to my staff and say, find me some Black people to put in that class. Because the Africans, the whites, the Hispanics, they show up. The wealth gap in Franklin County is huge between Blacks and whites. And we as a community have got to do better to serve each other.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up. I want to thank you all. Before we have our closing remarks, I want you all to scan the post-survey QR code and give us some information on how you felt after this conversation. And then please be on the lookout for more of our hubs, more roundtable discussions. We have a lot more things coming up, but one thing that I want to do is thank you all for showing up. You showed up tonight, so that made my heart full because someone said it, be curious, and you all were curious about this night. And so as we move forward, we want to make sure that we have our closing, and we're going to call up Mr. Jackson and Ms. Munster to do our closing and give closing remarks.
I want to thank the panelists for this is a very knowledgeable conversation tonight.
Was. Give them a hand.
Let's
please.
give them a round of applause one more time.
Kristen?
Tonight just wasn't about AI. It was about access, opportunity, and ownership. AI is shaping every part of our future, and if we're not intentional, we risk being left out of the very systems that will define what's next. But tonight proves something powerful. We are not on the outside looking in, but we are here and ready to lead. To our city officials, thank you for recognizing that this work matters. To our panel, thank you for sharing your expertise and pouring into this room. And to everyone here, your presence says you're not waiting for the future, but we're stepping into it. But let's be clear, this cannot stop here. Awareness is not enough. Inspiration is not enough. We need action. As an organization, we are committed to doing our part, creating pathways, providing access, and making sure this community is not just included, but positioned to thrive. Thank you all for coming and have a safe ride home.
Panel, we're going to take a group picture. Thank you all and good night. If you have any, you can feel free to network and look out for what's coming next. Make sure you take your post survey, please, please, please. Thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you.